All right. Uh, Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm hoping that you have a lot of questions today. As always, feel free to post them in the chat board as you can. Otherwise, just say them out loud if you have that capability, and we can go from there. One of the first things I wanted to discuss is we have 3 people who participated in the Penn Apps hack over this last weekend. Basically, the largest, or one of the largest, but certainly a very big student-run hackathon in Pennsylvania. 1,200 students, all hacking on software and hardware projects. We had a number of them use SmartThings. I wanted to have Major give us a little bit of a rundown of that event, and yeah, you can obviously ask questions about that too.
Yeah, I'm posting some pictures in the chat room, but yeah, we basically went to Philly. There was 4 of us there, 5 of us actually. Me, Ben, Ermin, of course, Bob, and Adam Lanners was there as well. Yeah, we just there was like 1,200 people, over 240 hacks. Like literally the whole engineering building is just full of students hacking, and we were able to like set up a table. We also did a meetup on Thursday night, had about 10 or 12 people come to that, ask some good questions. And then we did kind of a demo video. Really simple, shows a contact sensor and programming it with a switch and a door lock. So we only had 2 minutes to present. So Bob got a very big round of applause from the audience. And yeah, let me find, there was 5, hold on, I'm trying to click this link. Yeah, there was like 5 that used SmartThings. Here we go. I'm gonna put this link in the chat room as well. And I'll tell you guys real quickly. Well, first of all, Ermin put together this thing with a doctor who was asking, we were kind of brainstorming ideas. We had all these like sensors laying around, and one was a flex sensor. So we were trying to figure out like, should you flick it or what could you do with it? And we figured out if you put a piece of paper on it and blow it, you can kind of figure out the frequency and to see if someone has asthma. So we threw that together in like an hour and a half. There's a video on the blog post. And then there was like 4 other ones that I noted that use SmartThings. So one called SoundCloud with a Q, and that one takes a multi-sensor to automate mood settings with Sonos, Philips Hue, and Nest. One of the top 10 hacks was called Siri Kit, which extended Siri to control multiple hardware devices. So they would say like, Siri, let's start the party. And the SmartThings hub would talk to a light switch, turn it on, turn the music on. Another one was called Imperial Watchman, which was with an Arduino hack. Used a SmartSense motion sensor to alert you of a burglar via SMS or email. And then Home Base was another one called, which uses a wearable arm piece to control physical aspects of your life. And they kind of just did some experimentation with SmartThings. So yeah, hopefully we'll go to more hackathons like this. This one is the largest, like I said, and it's every semester. And then there's one in Stanford that we want to go to, and maybe one in New York. Not quite sure yet, but yeah. Check out the blog post, and yeah, if you guys want us to go to other events, let us know.
Yeah, we're looking at setting up something. It's a bit early to because we don't have a lot of details around it, but something of an ambassador program for SmartThings, so that if we're coming to a town near you and you wanted to come out and help participate in these hackathons or conference events, you could do that. We'd figure out a way to like get you out there and or near there and help out with those sorts of events. I think it'd be a cool way to like sort of cross-pollinate members from the community, and to meet a lot of the people out there. So we're working on the details of that.
Mm-hmm.
Cassidy's asking if there's any hackathons in Minneapolis. There actually is an event coming up in Minneapolis Trying to remember. What was that?
I'll find the link. It's
Okay.
October 18th. It's called like the IoT Hack Day. Minnesota's first IoT Hack Day launches this fall. Yeah, October 18th. I'll send the link right now.
And then Christopher, we don't know of one in Chicago yet, but you know, if you see of something that you think SmartThings should participate in down there, you should definitely let us know, and we can keep our eyes out too. It would be a good place to go as well. Chicago will probably have one in the you know, DC area as well, or somewhere on the East Coast. And Todd,
Yep.
I don't know what frog holler means. Elk Grove.
No, that's a
Okay.
town. It's Frog Hollow,
Okay.
California. Small little place.
All right. How's it been going, Todd? It's been so long since we've seen your smiling face on here. I was getting worried.
Yes, I took on a very large project at my house, backyard, pool, walls, everything, and ended up being the prime contractor. Didn't realize what that meant. So, final inspections on Friday, so I'm back into the real world.
All right. Well, and the project that was up in Minneapolis that you were working on is just sort of kicked off too. So, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So great. I'm kind of reading questions as we go, as we get them. A few things that people are keen to see or hear about is the Logitech Harmony progress, Watt Vision, and PlantLink. We've got good news on the Logitech Harmony. In fact, last night, it was me and some other guys from SmartThings attended the kickoff event for Logitech, where they're kind of making a big splash about how now they're into the controlling your home business. A lot of that demo that they were doing, and it was quite a slick demo they had, but a lot of it was basically through SmartThings functionality, and they've recreated a lot of the interface on their own devices. They have both a SmartThings I'm sorry, both a things view and a more of a dashboard view. It's a somewhat analogous to some of the things that SmartThings has been doing, but it's a little bit more simplified because they don't have to do quite as much configuration and things on there. They're kind of relying on some of that configuration to already have happened off the device. But yeah, they have a smartphone app and through their little universal controller remote, and looks pretty slick. I'm excited to get a device and hook it up because now you know, media devices and TVs can then be controlled with SmartThings. So that's the good news. There was a post about that on the community forum, and I believe there was probably a blog post about Logitech as well, although I haven't even looked at the blog. Okay. Well, the blog post is coming out.
Yeah, so we're waiting for Logitech to confirm some information first before we send out a blog post. But I think right now the Logitech integration is not publicly available yet. It will be in the coming days, however. And just to shed a little bit of light on that, it will be usable for the new Harmony remote that's coming out. So if you go on Logitech's website right now, they have a Harmony Home Hub that will work with SmartThings. If you're a current Harmony user that has a hub, they'll provide some type of upgrade program. I think they have a little bit of information on it on their website, not too much under the FAQs, but expect that update, that firmware update for your existing Harmony hub in the coming months, I believe.
Yeah, they said to expect that, a bit later, like October, November, and it might be like $1.99 to upgrade for whatever reason they had to do that. But yeah. So that's the good news. That integration is well on its way to being live, and like Gilbert said, hopefully just a few days. I don't have
great, though.
Yeah, it looked really good. I don't have a Watt Vision update. Does anyone else know anything about Watt Vision at this time?
I do not.
Okay. I'll have to look into that again. I've got my Watt Vision. I've actually not tried to set it up yet and integrate it because I'm moving and haven't really wanted to do that, but I will look into that soon. PlantLink, on the other hand, I have looked at quite extensively. It appears to work. I'm getting still some issues with the integration that the PlantLink guys provided, and I've sent a message back to them just asking them if they have also seen the same issue. It's just how the links come in after I'm joining them to the SmartThings Hub, directly or indirectly, whichever way. They're not coming in as tiles that look nice. They're coming in as tiles with question marks on them, and so I just have a few questions to resolve on that, and I'm still hoping to get that out there. But I should follow up with them. Maybe even Christopher might know some more information about that since he worked so closely with those guys. But okay. He was just saying that Dan from PlantLink was stuck on some old firmware, and maybe he was seeing some different things than what I was seeing. Okay.
Cassie's asking about HomeKit.
Well, yeah, we've got a few more. Yeah, that's probably the next thing in there, if you want to talk about.
I don't think that we don't have too much information on that, at least on my part. I don't have really much of an update, but I think we're all kind of waiting to see what Apple comes out with and what they plan to do and what the strategy is around that. And if it makes sense, we definitely want to support it, but we really don't know how that's going to look like yet.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has looked into it much, but that sounds about right. Still, there's still more questions than answers on what HomeKit is actually going to offer to device manufacturers and platforms.
Yeah. Ben, should I share the little video that I created on my Logitech integration at home?
Sure. Yeah, do that. There's a way to actually share videos. I don't exactly know how, but
I was just
you're gonna share your desktop. Okay. You could. I was gonna say you could also share your desktop, but yeah, that works.
No, my desktop's messy.
Be right back.
All right. So while Ben's out, you guys can take a look at that. That's my personal home. So I'm letting you guys step into my house for the time being and enjoy my Logitech integration. So while you guys are watching that, I have a wall mount TV that's above my fireplace. That thank you, Major. That's above my fireplace mantle, and I have a contact sensor on the back of it. And that contact sensor will change modes, will launch my my movie time activity, and will also play an audio clip on the Sonos letting me know that I'm in movie time mode. So yeah, expect to do something similar in the coming days if you end up picking up the new Harmony Hub. Pretty nice. The first connected TV mount.
Nice. Yeah, I like that that integration where it just does it. Now, if you can just get that arm to articulate by itself.
I know. I was looking at one of those. It's like $1,000 for that mount, and I'm fine with just pulling down the hydraulics on this one.
Send me a link to the mount. I like that. What size TV is that?
It's a nice little Samsung TV. It's a 55-inch. Got to do a Samsung plug in there.
I got an 80-inch that I'd like to be able to pull down that low.
They actually they're doing Kickstarter right now. I don't know why they're doing a Kickstarter because they've been out on the market for some time now. But I'll paste the link on there.
It's cool to be a Kickstarter like SmartThings and others.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I bought their mount last year, and I don't understand why they're doing a Kickstarter after they actually launched the product.
Cool.
Any news on a Samsung wireless speaker? Are you talking about the Shape speaker? If you are, we don't currently have any engineering resources on doing this, but I foresee that happening. I don't know. I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be in the near future, but it's definitely. I think Samsung is going to push for integrating their shape speaker in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for us, we would much rather get Sonos working more solidly right now before we take on another one. So I think that is our priority. But yeah, they look nice. I actually hope that they work well.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in person yet. I think there's still some discovery and setup process that I think the Samsung team wants to make before we tightly integrate with that. Yes, Greg, Sonos does need work, and that's my task to work on that. Currently, right now, I don't have much of an update, but I definitely am talking to the Sonos team. I was actually talking to them today.
Yeah, that's been it's moved up the priority chart over the last couple weeks. So I think that Gilbert's right. It's going to be on its way.
Yeah, I think just to give you an update on that specifically, it's not just our end. There is some work to be done on the Sonos end. So we're subject to also their engineering resources as well. I wouldn't expect things to change in the coming weeks or months, but definitely within a few months, we'll definitely nail down the experience on Sonos. I got to tell you that it is kind of nice.
Sounds so scary, though. Yeah. It sounds so scary when you say weeks or months. I think that there are some small incremental improvements that can still sort of trickle out, but there are some major hurdles, like the ones you might be thinking of, that will require, Sonos engineering, and that might take longer, right?
Yeah. Those are the things I'm referring to. I'm talking about like being able to interrupt your music flow and reconvene at a later point. That's going to take some work on their part. There obviously is something. What's that?
How about regrouping? Is that something that's in now?
I'm trying to identify what that even looks like. So I actually have one of the Sonos that I took from the office at my house, and I'm trying to figure out how to actually group things properly, and try to nail down the experience on that. So if anyone has any ideas or experiences with that, reach out to me, Gilbert at SmartThings.
Okay. Okay. There's a few other things that have been mentioned. Christopher pointed to a ceiling-mounted motion sensor, essentially, that we've kind of put in contact with. I know Todd and I sent around some emails, and someone offered to send one around. I don't know, Todd, if Dan reached out to you on that. Wow. Todd, did you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
I hear you now.
I've got one coming in the mail. It'll be here tomorrow, so I'll take a look at it. But Dan has not reached out yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Is the one that's coming in the mail the one from person on forum?
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. The community just like circumvents us when we're slow, which is kind of the idea of it.
You can always depend on the community to give us a nice little nudge every so often.
Yeah. And then Todd, you are all interested in TCP bulb status, so that'd be great to hear.
Yeah, that's the firmware that was released, and Tyler posted on the community forums today that you could request to support at smartthings.com for the 11.705 release, which updates some of the issues that TCP lights or the TCP connected lights were having, how many sockets were allowed and things like that. So that took care of part of the problems. Also, I submitted into the community release or the IDE release process today an update to the TCP service manager and to the device type files that will handle DHCP IP changes more dynamically. So one of the problems that was happening is that SmartThings was not being updated, that the IP address changed of the gateway for the TCP bulbs. So essentially communication was lost. So that got fixed. And also I updated TCP bulbs actually output how much power that is being consumed at their DIMM levels. So I added another device detail tile, so you're able to understand how much power is being used at each of the bulbs. So that's a nice little update. Some bug fixes also in there. So TCP bulbs should be, once the update is released, along with that firmware on the hub, be a lot more resilient, and users should be happier.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Anything else you got up your sleeve that you're working on?
I released the Mima Lite. I configured a device type for that for the garage door with a contact sensor. So it's a power sensor, a contact sensor, and a momentary switch. So that got released, or it got submitted. So hopefully that'll be in the release cycle soon. Sharp little box, works well, and pretty cheap too. So you just wire it in parallel to your button, and then you could wire in the contact sensor either at some point in the door travel or at the door base, and know that your door is closed.
Nice.
Because the Mimo Lite has a power off alarm, it actually saves up a little bit of juice. So if power's removed from the Mimo Lite, it transmits out an alarm code to let you know that power went off. So you drive up to your garage door and it doesn't open, you can actually look at your SmartThings device type file and see that you don't have power in your house. Of course, that's if your hub is on a battery backup. Actually, it should be the latest state that made it up. So that was kind of cool. And what's nice is, like a lot of times, like myself, my garage door power or the Mimo Lite power is on the same outlet as my refrigerator that I have out in my garage for my beer and other meat and stuff. So if I get an alarm that my refrigerator is turned off, I can come home and save the beer from getting warm. I mean the meat from going bad.
Actually, Todd, I would like to talk to you a little bit more about how we can kind of generalize the Mimo Lite so that it can be used across the board for other things. Because from my understanding, that thing is both a relay and inputs for sensors.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of different use cases for it, and I want to make sure that we can kind of fully utilize this without having to create like tons of device types that are suited for each one.
Yeah, that's something that I was considering when I was discovering all the capabilities of the thing, because it has voltage level sensors. Like you said, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Send me an email or give me a call and we can discuss.
Yeah, definitely. I think on the same lines of the TCP, I'm sure that some of you guys may have heard that the GE bulb, there's a new GE bulb that just came out, the GE Link bulb, which is a $15 LED light bulb that you can pick up at Home Depot. I have those installed throughout my house to replace some of my TCP bulbs. They're pretty nice. We're working on just some last minute tweaks on it. I'm not sure whether or not it's publicly available yet.
It is.
It is, okay. Yeah. But I think Ermin is running through some tests some issues that we've seen on it that we want to fix. But you can install it already and experience it. So for those that may not have the TCP system, they can opt to get those. Have you seen those, Todd?
Yeah, I ran out Saturday morning. They were released here at Home Depot.
Uh-huh.
So I went out Saturday morning and I didn't even look at the forums, didn't even think anybody was working on it. Literally screwed it in and hit discover, and it found GE Link light bulb on the first day they were released, and I was pretty amazed, pretty happy.
You can thank Ermin for that.
Yeah. have to buy him a beer.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
Do you know, Gilbert, what's in the latest firmware besides that TCP link, or anything new in there?
I don't think we released 705 was the last one we released. We haven't released anything recently on top of that. I know that we are working on the next version of our firmware that supports the orbits one with the timing. But that's not for I'm for maybe weeks to come.
I myself will be looking forward to that. But
Yeah.
I think the 705 is the latest one. Is that the one you were talking about, Ben? The one that you needed to get the TCP update going?
Yeah, that one's with sockets.
Yeah.
705 is still latest.
But you still have to request it. It's not pushing out automatically yet.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. We'll touch upon that right now. We will be doing a app release in the coming weeks that will allow you to do automatic firmware updates yourself. So you no longer have to contact support for firmware updates. When we make it publicly available, you'll get a notification on iOS and Android, and be asked whether or not you want to perform that update.
I thought it was already doing that.
It does it on initial install. So when you do a hub install, it'll do a firmware check and ask you. I don't even know if it asked you. It'll just do it for you. But we're actually going to be doing notifications in-app.
One of the things I was looking at with the 705 release, it says that the Z-Wave polling is disable reactive polling. What is that?
That might have been to resolve the issue with the JASCO switches. I think we were pulling them a little bit too often.
Oh.
So we made some modifications to that. And I've heard a great response on that. People have been having less issues with the JASCO switches, which is really good.
Well, I've got 47 of them, so we'll see.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it was at a point where everybody with a JASCO switch was emailing support, and they were just getting bombarded. And we made some adjustments on that, so it's looking a lot better. I think that I'm not sure we completely eradicated the issue, but it's definitely increased. It decreased the support overhead.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Then what else do we have on the agenda for today? Or is it open forum?
It's pretty open today, mostly because I have just been running around the city looking at various properties and had no time to really pay attention to what's going on this week. So I'm totally willing to hear about some other topics people want to talk about.
Do we have Lauren Z on the call? The guy that did the tablet interface?
I don't think so, but that's an awesome thing.
Yeah. Has anyone actually installed that and can chime in on the experience? I'm looking to spend some time on that once things settle a little bit. Major, can you may have actually no. Can you post the link to that? I know you're pretty fast on finding those things now. The dashboard, the tablet dashboard. I might have it. But for those who aren't familiar with it, there's a guy on the forum that created basically a tablet application, a web app that allows you to configure tiles to see different states of your devices and be able to toggle on and off switches. I'm not sure whether or not you can change modes and such, but it's a very nice build. I'm really impressed with what the community is able to do without any of our guidance. You guys rock.
This is awesome.
Yeah, Cassie was mentioning you can actually change modes in it, so that's very cool.
Yeah, Cassie, do you have it installed? Can you chime in on your experience?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I do have it installed. The instructions were spot on. It was super easy to follow through. It is a, I don't fine now. It works perfect for what it's intended to do. I just have it set up so I have a virtual switch that'll toggle on and off certain groupings of lights.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you using
when
Big
there's
Switch?
motion, what's that?
Are you using Big Switch to
I'm
group the
not
lights?
using. No, I'm just using a separate one I wrote.
Okay.
So it'll trigger the tiles to light up. Like say, for instance, I have it so when I have motion in my apartment, the lights will turn on. The web app updates at the same time, and the little tile will light up, showing that the lights all turned on. So
Very nice. How
Mhm.
hard was it to install? How long did it take you?
15 minutes maybe.
Really?
The instructions that he has on GitHub are perfect.
All right. I think I have some plans tonight.
I would definitely recommend it.
Very good. We need to Ben, reach out to him. Let's get him on the developer call 2 weeks from now. It'd be great to give him some props and tell us about his experience too. It's always good to pull people out and on these calls and share their projects. I think that's where we really thrive and how we can all kind of learn off each other.
There was a question on official Nest integration. I keep getting mixed up between official Dropcam and official Nest integration as to where they are. Gilbert, do you know?
Yeah, so their terms of service is not so friendly to us. I'm not sure if you guys ever dug into it, but there's some things on there that requires us to change the way that we handle data. For instance, Nest requires you to delete data after 10 days, which we don't do. Our event logs goes indefinitely right now, mainly because we don't have the architecture to kind of deprecate or delete data. So in order to officially support Nest, we're going to have to do some changes on our side. It's going to take some time, but we do have intentions of supporting Nest. Just fundamentally, although there's a lot of good thermostats out there, a lot of people kind of getting into the smart home space will start with the Nest, and then we'll reach out to other devices. So we inevitably kind of have to support the Nest.
Was that a hint?
What's that?
Well,
that Ecobee, that new Ecobee looks awesome.
yeah, I do like the way that looks.
There's a lot. I mean, I met the guys from Zen. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but that product is actually very interesting. Let me post a link. But the interesting about the Zen thermostat, it's a dumb connected thermostat. And what I mean by dumb is that there's no configurations on this thing. You don't do your scheduling on this. You don't do any automation on this, and you depend on the platform to do all your scheduling, which is really nice because one of the complications is that if you have a Honeywell or if you have a Nest or any other connected thermostat, is that you have scheduling done on both the thermostat itself, but you also may have some automation done on our side. And that might confuse the user, or those things might conflict where you get some unforeseen changes in your environment. The nice thing about Zen is that it's completely dumb. So we get to define when the thermostat changes temperatures and so on. We don't normally do plugs on Indiegogo and Kickstarter campaigns, but I met these guys at Disrupt, and it was a very interesting product.
Well, that's the one weird thing about this environment is that some of the best devices are the ones where all the interface and the intelligence are abstracted off them. I mean, Coffee Pot, for instance, you go spend $120, you get a programmable electronic coffee pot. It will not work with SmartThings because its interface is in it. But you get a dumb Mr. Coffee, you just leave the switch on and use an outlet, and voila, you're working. You're fine. You can schedule anything you want.
Yeah,
it's that abstraction of the UI and the smarts out of the device and into the platform, which really is key to the success of this HA and HC.
Yeah, I think that the problem here is that a lot of manufacturers don't really consider everybody to have a platform, to have some type of automated system to control everything. So if you don't have a SmartThings and you don't have a hub, how do you do scheduling then? And that's where the complication might lie. And they want to leverage and they want to be able to market their devices as being feature full. And if they have a dumb product out there, it kind of puts them in a weaker position with other devices out there.
Well, hence the fragmentation.
It's going to be a tugging and pulling game for some time, and we'll see where it turns out.
I think I picked a horse already, though.
I always ask this question on this call, but what else are you guys working on? What neat projects have you done?
I'll bump in here real quick. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Lewis from Chicago. Just came across SmartThings about 2 weeks ago. Was over waiting for Revolve to do something and never came out with a developer API, and played around with Vera for quite a bit, but was excited to see Revolve. And spent the last 2 weeks just kind of playing around in the IDE. I just submitted my first app about an hour ago, and I don't quite know what that process involves, but it takes one of the Aeon mini motes, and then it lets me assign Sonos functions to them, so I can have it control the volume, and I have it like cycling through the favorites lists, and you can do the tracks. And so my thing was always I wanted a little remote for the Sonos. I didn't want to have to go grab my phone to go put on and cycle through my favorites list.
Very cool.
So built that, kind of went over that learning curve with the apps, or with the IDE and the apps, and how all that works. But I got the hang of that, so I might take on a device handler next.
So cool. Was it quicker than you expected when you started, or did it take you longer?
There were some frustrating things. The logging just being so kludgy was really tough for me, because I kind of wanted to stick some stuff in there and see stuff out of the logs, and I don't know if it's based on size or like anything meaningful trying to get out of the logs I couldn't do. So debugging and developing, that was probably the biggest tough spot for me. As far as learning it, the documentation was fairly good on it, and then the ability to kind of pull up all those sample apps.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Ben, did you hear that? He's smiling. And Lewis, if you were here 6 months ago, the developer documentation, poor Ben got beat up. I mean, he bled after every one of these meetings about documentation, and they brought on some folks, and to hear you say that, I'm sure the guys at SmartThings are just happier than heck that a person such as yourself in 2 weeks can submit an app and say that statement afterwards. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it was a combination. I think you guys have enough there between the docs, the sample apps, and then the community support that's in the forum. I was able to get answers to what I needed to get it done.
Awesome.
We're always like working to make that better. Try to make it easier to understand, just like onboarding simple applications. Like, what is a smart app? I'm trying to like kind of build some web pages on our developer site to make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think, it took me a while to realize that little pull down when you're developing in the IDE that pops up all the samples, that's a nice touch, because you can sort of go and just quickly and easily.
They're kind of like buried in there, and it would be awesome kind of just like see what people have already built and just like have easy access to that, like as templates for your own smart apps.
Yeah. Some things that don't surprise me or hard that haven't been done is, some way of abstracting out some common pieces of code. I find to be cutting and pasting an awful lot of stuff. I think there was a thread somewhere on IDE enhancements. I read it before I was probably experienced enough to comment intelligently on it, but maybe I'll go back and hit that thread and put some suggestions in there.
Yeah, please do. We're actively working on like a backlog of features for that, and hoping to put more resources on those developer tools. It's a huge priority of mine for the next 3 or 4 months to improve the IDE tools and the documentation. So,
I think the other thing I think is some way to it just as a professional software developer, having all this code out there without being able to write some good unit tests and some stuff around it is just kind of an icky feeling for me. And so I went down the path, like I started to write a little emulator in Eclipse that would kind of just simulate some of those callbacks and let me do that locally and fire up some little JUnits around it to write some tests, but hit one little roadblock and stopped on that. But yeah, I'll put more suggestions out there. I think, I love the language choice. I've done a lot of work with Groovy in the past too, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me to pick up running. I wasn't battling with the language at all.
Ben's gonna sleep good tonight.
What's that?
Ben's gonna sleep good tonight. He's gonna be happy. Have a good beer, Ben, and
exactly.
Be happy.
Yeah. I am. Yeah, I'm staying in Potrero Hill right now.
We should meet up.
There's a few more questions that are coming in through the chat. I'll try to keep up with those. So it looks like Jody is doing some automated blind stuff, but maybe having some difficulty. Let me see. Maybe that was separate. No, he was having difficulty with the Honeywell thermostat issues. I don't know what those were, but then later it's about the blinds and an OmniAuth provider on GitHub. I have an OmniAuth for Ruby. Okay, interesting. I can't keep up with all the comments on there right now. Okay.
On the blinds thing, I have intentions of officially integrating the Somfy blinds before the end of the year. So for those who want to kind of have the full kind of automate experience, that's one of the things that I want to add to our compatible device list.
Yeah, 2.4 for Somfy, that's for sure.
You want one of the?
No, it's like $2,000 for one motorized blind. I'm like, I'll put it.
No, it's not that much.
Oh, tinfoil, yes, tinfoil. No, they used to be.
They're actually not that much with the new RTS ones. You can get the motors on there for maybe 150, and then get one bridge to control them all.
Yeah.
So I'm not. Yeah, definitely. There's some cheaper kits out there. There's some cheaper things that you can do. I think there was a blind controller that was supposed to come out via Kickstarter or Indiegogo that ended up getting canceled at one point. I think it was an overseas company, Joe Sear or something like that.
Yeah.
That was an interesting product.
The one that turned the knob?
Turned the knob? Yeah. It actually put it onto the top of your blind. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Lutron ones we saw last night, I don't know if you just mentioned them, but I don't know if you can buy those without the whole blinds, but those were really, really quiet and cool.
Yeah.
And controllable by Logitech.
Yep.
All right, we're at the 15-minute mark and until the end. This has been a good discussion thus far. What are some things that you'd like to see SmartThings doing more of, or doing less of, or something that you'd like to see? Just put it in the comments or mention it.
Hey Ben, have you looked at the thread that was going the last few days about scenes and just scenes?
Is that just from the last couple of days? Because I have not been actively looking at them. I have a lot of unread things because I do read every post on the forums, and so I'm way behind. But do you want to give a overview of what the main question is and what people have been saying?
Well, what comes up, in the Hello Home atmosphere or environment, if you will, that you can say, I want to set these lights to 15% and my door to unlock. And essentially it's a very binary but finite or list of things to do, and everything's got to be pretty common. Whereas in a scene, you might say, I want this light to, you go and you set these devices up, and then you say, record that state. And that becomes a scene. And that's the analogy that's used in most of the other device or HA environments like Vera and such. So, pardon me?
So I was going to ask, it's like the difference being like you can have one light to set to 15% and another light set to 30% and so on?
Correct.
Oh, so, yeah.
And I might have my TV volume at 5%. I might have, so all the devices that you may group in a room, I want to essentially capture that state and call it TV time in something that you're familiar with, Gilbert. Or I might want to say dinner time, or, and set a different level of states or group of states for other devices. So it's been a pretty good conversation on the forum the last few days about that. And one of the things that people were saying is that really truly is home automation, instead of just making the door open or close on command, that I set nuances and levels in between ons and offs. And I automate a room to my desire. So anyway, that's one of the things that's been heavily discussed, and I've really appreciated some of the inputs people have put in there, and just wondered if the people in this call had any additional information or ideas about scenes.
That's a very interesting point. I'm definitely going to bring that idea back to the product team. From the sounds of it, that should be something doable already, meaning that we don't have to make any changes to the platform. You should be able to write a smart app that captures what your devices are at and be able to replay that back. So I don't see any difficulties in that now. I'm interested in seeing how we can kind of build an in-app experience that makes it easy for you to configure as well too. So if someone wants to do a first rev on that, that'd be great.
Did you see? I had an app that I wrote probably last year. It's called Scene Machine, and it would just do lights and switches. And essentially, what it did is recorded the states into a state variable. But now people are wanting then just more than lights and switches. I mean, so. And also I'm having a problem, and Ermin's looking at it for me, with app.touch right now. It's not firing right, or at least it looks like it to me. But to actually go in and be able to look at all the device types that you want to pick from and say, take that state, give it to me, let me record it, and let me play it back later with like just a virtual device tap or something.
So there'd be a record button and then a play button within the device tile or whatnot?
Yeah, what I was thinking of is like make a service manager, say, all right, that kind of loops itself and say, all right, I want to pick these devices, take their current state, record it, and then store that in a child virtual device that when I tap its main tile, plays it. And that way I can take that tile, put it in groups, give it pictures, recall it, on a room basis, or even make it a sub scene of another scene if I wanted to, because it has state to it.
I wonder whether or not having it as a things tile is the ideal way. I'm thinking as the user experience perspective, whether or not there's some type of view for that, because I see more and more that there's going to be these play pause buttons and type of configuration buttons that we want to have within our application, and we could make it a things tile, but it may actually be a thing of its own, a controllable view or whatnot.
Well,
some type of other.
This is Bob.
Hey, Bob.
I have a little bit of kind of talking about the future that may dovetail with some of this. We expect soon to be able to, as you all probably know, as you go into the dashboard, there are all these modules like doors and locks and home and family and so forth. And we are getting very close to being able to release the ability to have individual developers build your own modules. That's something that wasn't quite possible before, and that includes some additional UI options for controlling things like this other than creating a device for it. So I think that might be, and we kind of coupled with that, one of the reasons we're not releasing it right away is we just need to generalize it a little bit more. What was built was really very special purpose to building those modules as they exist in the product. And so we want to generalize that a little bit. But I think I expect, in the coming, this next quarter for sure, and hopefully a good bit quicker than that, we would start to have the ability to have people create whole modules as well, and that opens up more possibilities.
Yeah. Taking would the best analogy for the context be, and you talk about Gilbert about it, a play and a pause, whereas really a scene like this it's more of an on. It doesn't really have a life cycle per se. It's just an instantaneous set it to that. So the pause part of it, I don't know, it doesn't seem fitting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about buttons and controls in general. Like for instance, I have a mini mote on the wall right now that I use to kind of replay actions, and we should have some type of similar ability within our application as well too. So I have my mini mode that turns on and off on certain lights and off certain lights with the press of a button.
Right.
There's a lot of ongoing discussion in the chat area, but it's been following along with the conversation a bit, so that's good. There's been some feedback about user-specific notifications, which is definitely in the works, being able to break an account up by user.
Yep, we're working on that.
Yep, and additionally, some feedback on the lights and switches. Like shortcuts, screen being too sparse, not dense enough. Maybe the two across. You have to scroll a lot to get them. I think that could be improved, certainly.
The underlying framework actually supports finer grain controls. It's just that was the design of those modules. So there'll be options for doing not being constrained to that two across.
Greg mentioned that he's seeing his change order all the time, which it's not something that I experience unless I'm adding a new one. But it should be looked into. For me, I don't believe that's the behavior, but it's weird.
We should look at the specific module for that too, because there are module-specific options regarding ordering.
Every time you open it, he opens the app, they change order. Interesting, and Jody sees that as well. Maybe we should just implement like Shake to change order. It shuffles them all.
No, probably his wife or kids are on the account, and they change it the way they want, and then he changes the way he wants.
Can't be that frequently that would happen.
Well, they might change it every time they go in the app, and he might change it back.
That's what happens at my house.
We
start yelling at each other. Where's the light switch? Well, we have our phones in front of us.
Yeah, that should be like a little bingo game.
Yeah.
Jody mentions maybe grid or list views. Certainly.
Yeah, list view.
Yeah.
List view would be interesting because then that way we can also integrate some type of slider for dimmers.
Yeah, I've got a Galaxy Note, and there's enough room to do that nicely and get more on the screen.
Oh, we have the iPhone 6 coming out, so with that one, you'll have plenty of space too.
What's that?
The iPhone 6.
I'm teasing. I'm a Samsung fan.
Oh, I'm sure we have some Samsung folks listening in and smiling right now.
Yeah,
I've got iPhones to test.
The idea of having hello home phrases being able to order those by the way you want them instead of alphabetical, that's a good one. let's see. And then, Taryn's just emphasizing that too much data density and control, like specificity or sophistication, actually can also be too complicated. And it's something that we've sort of tried to strike a balance on. And I think some people say, hey, SmartThings app is too complicated. Some people say it can't do enough. We don't even know ultimately if one app is going to be able to satisfy, most groups, and so, or both groups at least. So we have toyed with the idea of making like a simplified, like controller specific app. It's not something that we've advanced beyond the discussion phase, but something that's like, smart things without a lot of the configuration options in there. So it's just like maybe people want to use that for quicker access to things that they do routinely.
Do you mean tablet kiosk interface? Is that what you're saying, Ben?
Not necessarily, but yeah.
Did you hear that?
Someone bought us some time with that new community submission. That bought us some tablet time.
You're gonna go kiss him.
Yep. So.
I'm sorry, Ben, to cut you off. Continue.
No, that's good. That's the kind of thing I want. Cassidy's asking about plans for notification center widgets in iOS 8. Well, yeah. We've already done. I mean, within hour or two of the initial HomeKit or the initial presentation about HomeKit and other things, one of our engineers already had like a prototype of that working. I'm hesitant to actually get iOS notification widgets working before we have something of an Android widget going. And I know that the Android widgets are more difficult in some cases, but I don't really want to poke that dragon, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I think the mobile team has thoughts of expanding support for Android, definitely. And I think given our adoption on iOS, we will definitely also do a notification at some point. I foresee that before the end of the year.
At this point, it's all about like, what people perceive. I don't think like one platform has like dominance, right now for us. I think that there's just different issues with different devices. Presence right now, mobile presence in Android is not great. Many of the reasons are because Android presence is not great in general. But like, it's not because we're putting more resources in one versus the other. And I just hate when, every time we release an iOS update, it's like, oh, where's the Android one? So hopefully we can get those very closely aligned.
Can I jump back to the notification discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
Has there been any thought or any work ongoing in a context such sensitive discussion on notifications? So when there's movement or, answer yes or no, or you know what I'm saying, that there's an interactivity with notification.
Yeah, exactly. So you can speak to that, but I did just want to mention that like having, even just like, go ahead, Gilbert. You're going to be able to explain it better than me.
Yeah, I think Todd, we mentioned it a few times on the previous calls, but we are going to be doing what we call Hello Home actions.
Okay.
So within Hello Home, where you get that kind of text feed or that text messaging feed, you'll be able to have certain smart apps trigger an inline action. So I think the first use case that a few of us are pushing for is you left your garage door open for 15 minutes. Do you want to close it?
Right. I have Tasker doing that now. I've set up all of that in Tasker. And just to have it, which is arduous going back and forth to make the two talk together, but to have it native would just be awesome.
Yeah, so I might actually go on the forums and post out and see what type of Hello Home actions you guys might want to see. And maybe when we roll this out in the coming weeks, we'll embed some of those in there.
Well, definitely the turning off and the closings, like turn off the curling iron, the coffee pot, close the garage door, turn alarm on. I forgot to turn it on when I left, or those state things, and have the house learn what normally happens as I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really cool. Say, all right, normally every time everybody left the house, he turned the alarm on, but he didn't today. Just say I don't have it automated.
There I think there also may be some things that we may not have considered, like say for instance, your front door was open and you have a Hello Match and says, "Oh, are you home?" When your presence may not actually notify you, or whether
Right.
you may have a guest that may have front door access to your house and you know that they're coming to your place, but your house doesn't. And there's a lot of edge cases that we haven't thought about. So I'm really interested in hearing what the community might have to say. So I'll likely go on the forums and post out and see what you guys are looking for. I may be doing that more in the coming weeks and coming months, reaching out to you about user feedback and what you guys might want to see. So expect to see more activity from me on the forums.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone. It's very good and active discussion today, despite not having quite an agenda. So I'm, thankfully you all joined. I'll see you in a couple weeks, where we'll have obviously some more things to talk about.
All right.
Thanks
See
all.
you, everybody.
Thanks.
So Ben, you got a place, huh? Oh, gone.